With all the emerging technology that you see, do you see efforts to improve our relationship with our mental health and technology, or do you think it will become more difficult for us?
I think we're only now starting to realize the damage that we are doing. This is similar to when we did nuclear weapons. It took us around 10 years to actually appreciate the ramification that nuclear weapons had on society. It was subtle at first, the idea of we could be wiped out within 20 minutes or 30 minutes of, in the 50s when the sirens went. And today it would be a matter of seconds and minutes. So in the 50s, an ICBM missile from Russia or even from a submarine we had about a 20-minute to 15-minute warning. But today we have hypersonic missiles that could be lobbed off of a submarine and could actually hit us within 3 minutes. So these time frames are getting diluted. And when these time frames shrink and they change, and society seems to be accelerating, it's interesting how the doomsday clock was at 10 minutes to midnight, and now we're at 3 minutes to midnight, I think. I'm not sure what it is today, but I'm going to look that up as we're going through where the doomsday clock is at this exact moment. But it's really like close to being, I mean, it's literally close to like we're going to nuclear war.
So true how quickly things develop and how little foresight seems to be implemented into these emerging innovations and how it impacts people.
Is it
It's
90 seconds to midnight?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
what
it's
it?
90 seconds right now.
Yeah,
Right, it's at 90 seconds.
yeah.
90 seconds, guys. So this is the deal. Why is that important? Because it means that we are cutting down the ability for society to make a decision should anything go wrong. We used to have a whole 20 minutes to try to do some diplomacy. We now have 90 seconds. And I want you to think about that because the doomsday clock is a little bit different. It's not really about the time, but that metaphor is actually really correct because you now have hypersonic missiles. So you could have the Russians could have a submarine very close to the East Coast, 200 miles off, which is legal, and they could lob a missile with hypersonic. It would hit us in less than 90 seconds. So why is this important? Because we as a society tend to disregard something until it becomes adamantly obvious that it's going to do us harm. So, right now, to answer the question, we are just at the moment when we're waking up to the fact that we have just exploded the biggest nuke above our heads called AI. And that nuke now is starting to take our jobs. And then we suddenly realized that we didn't even put pornography precautions into AI because we wanted the algorithms to be pure. So we didn't want to infest rules into the algorithms as the AI was building. What's the predominant image archive on the World Wide Web? What is the number one source of generation of imagery other than people's imagery that they create in their lives? That's pornography. So, what is the number one thing that the AI is scraping when it's looking at the World Wide Web, other than people's imagery that they create on their personal sites? It's not movies, guys. It's not the movie industry. That's teeny. It's the pornography industry. And so, when we then go, why is AI creating salacious pornography and its imagery and everything's so hyperly sexualized? It's because the amount of imagery that was sexualized that it's actually rummaged through is higher than you would think. This is what's so funny about all this is that we then wonder why we have this result that suddenly Gemini comes through and the search terms were completely changed. This is the Google AI that was considered woke because when it came out and at the press conference, people started asking it to do searches on historical figures, and it made all the historical figures some ethnic minority, but not white. And it turns out that the diversity team in search at Google created a layer of search in which they made sure that every search term went through the search filter and everything was changed and shifted to diversity. So it said, instead of saying, do a historic search for historic figures, it said, do a historic search and show as diverse figures. See a slight change in the search and you get a totally different AI output. So the AI itself would be incapable of showing you anything but the truth. This is where this thing gets so amazing. The truth pissed the diversity people off at Google, so they created their own truth. I'm sorry, I've got to start laughing here because you start to laugh when you start to realize how insane this is. So the
You
diversity people at Google, the truth was not diverse enough, so they were going to taint it with their truth. And they didn't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, we
Maybe
can't
I'm
underestimate how much responsibility these platforms have because of their influence on society. And like I'm saying, especially with young children who don't know the difference between reality and what they see on these screens, that's so much responsibility that these technology platforms hold when it comes to their influence on society and future generations. And you and I both know those decisions they are making are intentional. Those are very well thought out and discussed meetings and people involved to make those types of decisions. Am I wrong in assuming that there's no incompetence there? It's very intentional.
you don't spend billions of dollars on doing it incompetently most
Correct.
of the time. And I don't want you to want to hear the federal government is incompetent. It isn't. It's so funny. It is so funny. Let's take electric chargers. We're told by mandate that the Biden administration wants us to all be driving electric cars. Well, then how come have electric chargers not really substantially increased in 4 years if our mandate is in the next 4 to 10 years we actually will have to be driving electric cars? What's happened? And I'll tell you exactly what's happened. We, the people, have happened because we have all of these special interest groups that all disagree. Some people disagree that electric engines should exist. Some people believe the cobalt mining is terrible. Some people believe that electric engines are no better than ICE engines. That's, a petroleum engine versus an electric engine. And I can go on and on and on and on. And we debate this stuff until the cows come home. This is what I know. I know that we will never agree completely on what is an environmental policy that will make anyone or everyone happy. It will not happen. What I do know is electric cars are really fun to drive because I own one, but they are disappointing when it comes to range. What I want to know, what I want everyone to realize is so you can't get everything you want. So electric cars come with a whole bunch of compromises. But then again, if you want to live in this world with me, then you're going to have to compromise a little bit to live with me. Just as if I wanted to live close to Kim, I'd have to compromise to live with her. And it's true. If I was to be in a relationship with Kim, it would be 100%. I would actually have to compromise and I would have to yield to certain things that were valuable to her. And the same to you, Forrest. And what we have lost this capacity to realize is what makes a relationship work makes the country work. And we've got to start having those very deep conversations again and stop when it gets difficult personalizing the discussion. Instead, when it gets difficult, start to realize, well, this is why this discussion needs to occur. And we need to be nice about it because both sides don't have the answers. And if anyone thinks today I'm coming off on my high horse saying, I know all the answers, I hope it's very abundantly clear. I don't have the answers. I believe we have left the harbor without the answers in place. And unfortunately, we're going to have to discover them now after the fact. And by the way, I'm one of the guys that was oblivious to this, and I helped the ship leave the port. I'm not here to be morally right, but we've got to get real with this. We can change America, like TikTok. Are we going to complain about the American version of TikTok that occurs in 9 months? Are we going to say, we didn't get rid of TikTok, it's not banned, it's the same thing? If it's the same thing, then it's we, the people, that chose it to be the same thing. Then going back to the personal family stuff, if you really want your kids to grow up and to be able to be the very best citizens they can be, they're going to have to learn how to fight for what they believe in. And you're going to have to learn how to compromise and to have good debates with them. And you go, both the family and the child will have to learn how to actually compromise to make the family work, meaning everyone will be a little pissed off. But if you do it correctly, there will be something for everyone in that family. Why is this important? Because if we can start fixing the families, we can start fixing our government. We have to stop yelling at each other. And remember, your feed is your bias. You designed it. You made it happen. You told the algorithms what you like. They're feeding you what you like. Why does your like have to be my like? It doesn't. Get over yourself if you're worried about you not being respected. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't like what you like. Now, can we get along? I'm not a bad person. I just don't like what you like.